Udoka was screaming. He was like, he can't shoot, he can't shoot. And then as soon as
Oh.
I shot it, it's like as soon as it left my hands, I was like, oh, that's definitely going in. And I just turned around and was like, I was praying it went in though. I was praying it went in because it would have looked bad if it didn't.
On today's episode of Titus and Tate, we're going to be talking to the newly anointed 2020 AP Player of the Year, a man who captivated college basketball. Tate and I's favorite player in the country this year, Obi Toppin, is joining the program. Tate, how does that sound?
It sounds like a great day, and it sounds like we've got the best player in the country. We always talk about the race to 69. He is 6'9". He is a stalwart. He is one of the best players in college basketball, like you said, from this season. And in fact, not just one of the best. He is the one. He is the best, and he wants to talk to us, so we feel blessed.
Yeah, we sat down with him, talked with him, and yeah, we enjoyed our time with Obi because, as we said, I try to do my best to not just be a fanboy because you don't want to do the Chris Farley, Paul McCartney thing where it's remember that time you went between your legs and just I really could have done that just every single question. So anyway, we have that to look forward to. We're also Tate and I came across this Jeff Goodman. The coaches, Jeff Goodman polled every college basketball. He reached out to every Division I college basketball coach, and he said, "Send me your favorite TV show and movie." Very, very simple idea. I cannot applaud. We love good journalism here on this program, and I cannot applaud the work that Jeff did to enough here because very, very simple idea. Just text coaches and say, "Send me your favorite TV and movie, TV show and movie." And my God, the results are so much more interesting than they have any business being, Tate. This should not be this fascinating.
We should just point out the fact that, like, a lot of these guys, they like movies, they like TV shows. In reality, like in the same way that we were at the, at the Mount Invitational, Mick Cronin, they were like asking him about his first, LA concert, and he was like, "Well, that was my first concert, to be exact."
Yeah.
It's like. You see how far removed these guys are from quote unquote popular culture. And, to have Jeff Goodman do this, like you said, it's a service to journalism because we need to know that these guys actually do watch something other than tape and film.
But they don't. They're all robots and they have to pretend like they're not. And it's hilarious to watch them stammer and like, I don't know. It's so great. So we're going to pick through that. We're also going to do a thing that we're going to try here moving forward because we're starved for content. And we'll explain that right after we start the show. Let's just get into it, Tate. It is Friday. We're going to have some fun. America cannot stop talking about it. And no, I'm not talking about the coronavirus pandemic, Tate. I'm talking about this Tiger King documentary.
Tiger King.
Are you watching it? Have you watched it?
What's so good is like when I was leaving to come, do this show, like I was like walking in my bedroom to get all set up. And, I'm thinking to myself, what are we going to talk about today? And funny enough, last night I watched all of Tiger King because I am one of those people that as much as like I hate when everyone's talking about one thing, I still like to see it because I just want to know, you know what I mean? Just for my own, I'm just like, what is this about?
And if you're going to be a hater, you have to be an informed hater. So you have to still watch it. So then you could be like, this is lame, this thing that people are talking about.
Yes.
I'm with you. I watched it just because everyone was talking about it. Like literally every person in my life that I'm talking to on the phone, on FaceTime, whatever, what have you. Have you seen Tiger King? You have to watch this. You have to watch this documentary. So last night I put on the first one.
Yep.
And within 10 seconds, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And it didn't stop. So I don't know. I'm a sucker for all these documentaries that come out, just like everyone else, like most of America, all these like crime I don't know. There's a new one. The don't F with cats was the most recent one that seemed to captivate everyone. That one was awesome too. Tiger King, maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment, but it is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is like, it comes out of the gate strong. It is basic. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but at the same time, I feel like it's so good that you can spoil it and still not spoil it. Like I could reveal like 30 different things that are hilarious about this thing.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't spoil it because it's like there's I don't know. It comes out of the gate strong. It's like running a marathon and the starting gun goes off and you're sprinting and then you just never stop
Mhm.
sprinting for 26 miles. That's what this diet. That's what this thing is. So someone wrote into us, a guy named Matt, a friend of the program named Matt Tate, and he said he wanted to pick our brain. He said, I know you guys. We've been getting a lot of suggestions from people saying like you guys should talk about this, or that, or anything else. And one guy's suggestion was doing a list of the guys. How did he frame it? Like the guys we thought, based on watching them in college, we thought that, yeah, we were sure they're going to be great in the NBA.
I was gonna say surefire like NBA pros. Like we're just like that guy's
Yeah.
gonna be an NBA like talent star, whatever you want to say.
I like this idea not only just to talk about this thing, but I like it moving forward. That like I guess we do need some, like we could go through some lists, and the whole lockdown thing is a good opportunity for you and I to delve into our favorite, peel back the curtain a little bit and say like these are guys that we loved, and then I don't know what other topics could come up, like teams that we love that we don't really talk that much about throughout his. I don't know. We'll come up with different lists, but this is a good place to start, I thought, because this is a fascinating thing. It's something that you and I talk a lot about off air, but I'm not really sure how much time we devoted to it before. So let's just do that. Why not? We need some content. We got to fill some time before we get to Obi Toppin, and it could make for an interesting discussion. So these are what are we doing? Our top 10 list. These are guys who, like, how do you want to frame this? Because I think calling them NBA, like, I want to make sure we don't do just NBA bust.
Let's
because
call
it's obvious. Like Greg Oden is an obvious one. You know.
Let's just say our surefire NBA All-Stars that weren't All-Stars.
Okay. That's one way of looking at it, I guess.
I mean, it was a lock. Like
okay.
these are our NBA lock. These are our NBA locks that weren't actually locks. You know what I mean? Like where it's like I saw that guy.
Yeah,
I'm like, he's gonna be a star in the NBA.
Yeah, my list is more guys that I thought that guy's going to play in the NBA as long as he wants to, and then it turned out that's not what happened. He was forced out of the NBA because he sucked. But yeah, you get the idea.
All right, number 5 on my list. I'm going to stay in the 03 draft, and again, this is something that could be argued because I guess he was well known, but TJ Ford at Texas was the 8th pick to the Milwaukee Bucks in 2003. There was the picture of him where this is back in the day in 03, as you and I both know, where you would wear shorts that basically would go down to your ankles. And there's like, I remember the picture of him on like coming out into that year where he has the purple Bucks jersey on and he has the full like he's completely covered. You can barely see him. And I was a big Muggsy Bogues, Spud Webb kind of guy. I love small point guards. Love Isaiah, obviously, back in the day. I'm just like a fan of small point guards. Why not? Because I wasn't one of those kids. I was always like had to play when I was younger. I had to be power forward, and then I like grew into being like a small forward, combo guard, whatever. But I never was a point guard. I always wanted to be a point guard, like John Lucas style. And TJ Ford like took over basketball that year for me in 2003. I would always act like I was TJ Ford. I love those Texas teams. I thought he was going to be a star in the NBA automatically. And then he was the 8th pick, and I was like, oh, he's going to a great team with Ray Allen. This is going to be awesome. None of that worked out, and that's why he's number 5 on my list. TJ Ford.
I was always a TJ Ford hater. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't know. He go look up his. Here's some homework for the listeners. Go look up TJ Ford's stats the year he won in 03, the year he won National Player of the Year. It's like staggering how not good his stats are for National Player of the Year. It's a very bizarre.
I will say this, like I watched the Houston title game, and like with 3 minutes to go in the game, like Clyde Drexler, they show his stats, and it's like 4 points, 2 rebounds, and I'm like, man, these guys like just were playing basketball. Like Clyde Drexler had no idea how many points he had. He was just like playing within the game, and like I don't know, TJ Ford had a little bit of that with me, where it was just like he would do whatever it took to win, and then they would show the stats, and it was like 16 points, 6 assists, and I'm like, oh okay, like yeah, I guess. But on the opposite side of that, like Tyler Hansbrough, I feel like he would do nothing, and then they'd show his stats line, and it'd be like 29 points, 31 rebounds, like 9 blocks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, when did this happen? Like, what the? Like, what?
Yeah, there you go. So you're saying TJ Ford is a guy who did the things that don't show up in the box score? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Grit and grind.
Should
have gone.
All right, my number 5 is we're talking about Wake Forest earlier, the 05 Wake Forest team. They were knocked out of the NCAA tournament by this man. His name is Kevin Tate. He invented the stretch five. He never played one single second in the NBA. And looking back, it is unconscionable how that could possibly happen. The man was 6'11". He shot 41% from the three-point line for his career. He averaged like 20 and 6, I want to say, as a senior at West Virginia. He invented the stretch five, Tate. There was the Kevin Pittsnogle invented the stretch five. That's how I will always remember it. I don't even care if there's a 5-man shooting. I mean, I guess Manute Bol kind of invented the stretch five. I don't care. That's not how I remember it. If you're asking me, history says Kevin Pittsnogle invented it, and that's that. And I think he just was a product of the wrong times. I think he comes up now. I think he gets a cup of coffee in the NBA at least. The fact that this man never played 1 second of NBA basketball is a travesty. And I stand by
and it was always about athleticism. You know what I mean? It's like he can't play. He can't be a big in the NBA because he's not athletic enough. He can't bang down low. But Ryan Anderson's of the world. This is
a lot of guys. This is before Steph Curry taught everyone that 3's worth more than 2, and then all the GMs were like, "Oh, damn, that's a good point. Never thought about it that way." Yeah, so he was before that time.
We love it. All right, where are we? Number 4.
We're number 4. Number 4.
Number 4. All right, number 4 on my list. This is another guy top pick, but obviously did not have the career that I hoped he would have. And it was a 6th pick in 2004. And guess where he went? He went to the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks ruined him. I will put that on the record without even knowing what happened. But Josh Childress. I don't know why I like that Stanford team so much. I've actually heard a lot of people say that, that's like one of their favorite players from college basketball. I feel like that was a weird Pac-12 plant that they did to us on the East Coast back then in 2004 or 2003. But yeah, so Josh Childress, I thought he was going to be a star. I don't know. I honestly don't know, but it was just so funny because I was going through the drafts and I was just trying to do like a gut check. Like, who was I really in on that year that I was like watching and I cared about when they got picked. And I remember when Josh Childress got picked, I was like, oh, the other 5 teams made a mistake. I was like, this is the Jordan moment. He's a 6th pick. He's gonna blow up. Like, he's gonna let people know. And that was the year Dwight Howard got picked, Sean Livingston, all these other guys. J.R. Smith was one of my favorite players in that draft. But for some reason, I like Josh Childress.
No, Josh Childress was great. He kind of submarined his own NBA career, though, technically. So,
yes.
I mean, in that regard. But no, that's a good pick. That's a good the fact Josh Childress was a killer. Those Stanford teams, man, back in the day. Stanford used to have like one of the best programs on the West Coast. We should do a show where we just like talk like it's just Wake Forest, Stanford. It's like all these programs that like are dormant. Yeah. I mean, it's not as fun to do it with like UCLA and Indiana. Those are the 2 that everyone talk about as like the has-beens, but the has-beens that never won titles, but like to you and I are still like legendary programs like Stanford and Wake Forest. Maybe that's a top 10 list we do.
I would say like Oklahoma State's in there too. Like there's
like
Oklahoma
State
like
would be a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I like some of these teams.
Yeah. All right. My number 4 is also I did 2011 Big Ten earlier with Juwan Johnson, another 2011 Big Ten guy. Jared Sullinger, Ohio State. I thought he was going to be Kevin Love. I thought like his feel for the game was incredible. He was so skilled. He had a massive frame that he could throw his weight around, but he had finesse to his game. Jared was so good for Ohio State. He comes back his sophomore year. He could have gone to the NBA after his freshman year. He wanted to come back and like work on some things, start shooting more jump shots, loses a good deal of weight, and had like it looked like he was figuring it out, which basically is like, don't be fat and you'll be great at the sport. And that was kind of his approach his sophomore year. And then he gets drafted to the Celtics, and he just kind of like could never figure out the weight issues and never figured out the conditioning, and it just never really worked out. But he was so skilled and so big. And Ohio State in 2011 was the best team in the country, and Jared Sullinger was a big reason why. He was the best player on the best team, and I thought he would play in the NBA for as long as he wanted. And maybe he did. I guess maybe you could argue he did. He just didn't want to for very long. He just
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I see it. I get what it's about. And it's gone. I got to get out of here. Yeah, I love Sullinger. Sullinger had a great, like, it's funny how there's so many guys in college basketball like a Sullinger that we all remember like them playing, like, and we remember those teams, but you almost like don't I don't know. I've seen all these lists with like great college basketball players, and it's kind of like the Kevin Durant's or these people that are like, yeah, sure, they had a great season, but it wasn't like the zeitgeist of college basketball. It was like, I don't know. Sullinger's one of those guys in my mind. All right, let's get into top 3. This is the real grind time. This is the real moment to see who we actually thought would be great. Number 3 for me, the 19th pick to the Memphis Grizzlies in 2005. Again, this is the last year that I cared and was invested in these guys. Hakeem Warwick, who played with, of course, the Syracuse Orange, and was in my mind one of the best shot blockers. It was like him and Chris Wilcox were the 2 guys that I was like, oh, I think these guys are going to be stars. They just like, they have this ability to, it's not their first jump. It was their second jump that I thought was so impressive. So Hakeem Warwick was one of those guys where I was like, oh, he's going to be a star in the NBA. He'll be around. He'll be a power forward. And it didn't quite work out that way. I think, if he had Carmelo with him the whole time, maybe it would have. But yeah, number 3 on my list, Hakeem.
Not only a shot blocker, but one of the most famous block shots in college basketball history. Right up there with AJ, right up there, a few steps behind, but right up there with AJ Moye's block on Carlos Boozer. I'm joking.
Right.
Calm down, everybody. Calm down.
AJ Moye loved
right
that.
up there.
He's like, he's like exactly, Mark.
And my block at Assembly Hall on who was the Illinois guard? I had a block shot. I stuffed the guy. I gotta dig out the tape of this. We were playing at Assembly Hall, now the State Farm Center, and it wasn't Dimitri McCamey, because I would have like never stopped talking shit if it was him. But it was
McCamey was the one, yeah.
Yeah, but it was someone who like actually got run for Illinois. It was like I don't know if he was a starter or not. I have to look it up. Was it Frazier? It might have been. I should look it up. I don't remember who it was. I'll have to bust out the tape, but I like absolutely suffocated a guy shot Illinois against like a guy who actually got run for Illinois, and it was a career highlight for me. So
anyway, are you number 3 on your list?
Yeah, that's my list. It's AJ Moye, me, and Hakeem Warwick. Those are the 3 greatest blocks in college basketball history.
All right, that's a good list.
Oh man. No, you're absolutely right though. Hakeem Warwick was like just kind of, if we're gonna keep doing the name thing, like Peter Warwick was such a star at Florida State, and then Hakeem Olajuwon. I was like, this is Hakeem Olajuwon meets Peter Warwick. Like this guy is gonna be a stud. That's really what it is. We should have just done a list of guys like based on their names we fell in love with. And thought
Duncan Robinson's number 1. Yeah. We were like, that's the one. That's our guy.
Surely he's destined for greatness because he's named that, like how could you not be? All right, my number 3, again, I'm kind of breaking my rule with like he was drafted in the lottery. So it kind of goes against but it makes sense to me when I flesh it all out. My number 3 is Jimmer Fredette, who he started 7 NBA games in his career. So I realized he was a lottery pick, but he started 7 NBA games, and to me that is like astonishing because listen, I didn't think Jimmer was I didn't think he was Steph Curry. Like I understand the difference between the two, but the guy got buckets at a clip that we rarely ever see in this sport. And I thought surely the point of the game is making shots. This guy makes shots better than very few people we've ever seen. There has to be a place for him in the NBA. There just has to. I don't care how bad his defense is. When you can dribble the ball up and pull from 40 feet and make it every single time, seemingly, there has to be a market for that in the NBA, and he's going to stick around for a little while, right? Surely. But no, he started 7 NBA games in his entire career, and that was it. And that was all we ever saw of Jimmer. And I thought for sure he'd have a better NBA career than that.
I would say this. I thought that Jimmer Fredette overachieved with his NBA success.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like I can't believe that he started 7 games in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like,
listen,
to me, that's like a success.
I get that he's shorter. I get that he's not athletic. I get every single criticism you have about the guy, but it doesn't like if you can make like literally any shot you throw up, like at some point that has to, I don't know. Again, I'm not arguing that he would have been an all-star or a Hall of Famer. I just think that like, yeah, I thought for sure Jimmer Fredette would find a way to like come off the bench and hit 2 threes a game or something, and that would like be his legacy.
I think my mom called him the Mormon Dante Calabria, and like for me, that's a pretty good, like he had a pretty good run to be the Mormon Dante Calabria. So I think that was pretty good for Jimmer. All right, number 2 on my list. Oh, wow, I just like man,
They got you going, huh? That was it.
Yeah, starting 7 games in the NBA really got me all worked up. I'm just laughing about that. All right, the 17th pick in the 2002 NBA draft to your Washington Wizards, Juan Dixon. And Juan Dixon, I think everyone would pretty much point to the fact that he, in what you were saying earlier, which is like, who's the college guy, who's the NBA guy, whatever. Juan was the college guy. He was the D Brown. He was the one that you kind of point to, and you're like, he's the best player on Maryland. I don't know where he fits in the NBA. He might be too small. But for some reason, he had the heart where it was just like, I don't know. Juan Dixon could do anything in my mind. He was my favorite player on that Maryland team by far. He's my favorite player of that little era, pretty much, in college basketball. And when he went to the Wizards, I thought it was perfect because I was like, oh, it's like he's going to be in the Potomac area. He's going to be in the DMV. Like, he's going to be basically home, quote unquote. He's going to be great. And the Wizards are terrible anyway. And like, Michael Jordan's coming back. Like, this is going to be a whole thing. And turns out Michael Jordan came back to get rid of everybody and say that you will not play on this team. So yeah, Juan Dixon, number 2 on my list.
He came back to yell at Kwame Brown and
yes, and and Rip Hamilton and everyone else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
exactly.
Man, fun times. Great times. That's a good pick. Juan Dixon. That I'm with you. Like, that era, if I'm nostalgic about an era of college basketball, it's definitely the early 2000s, which makes the most sense because that's when you're coming of age. So this isn't exactly a novel idea that when you and I were at our most impressionable ages, that's when we felt like college basketball was the best. But at the same time, it was definitely the best. It was definitely the best.
But we should point out that we were far enough apart where it was like, we're not saying we're the same age. Like, we had like the 5-year gap where it's like it's still different for me than it was for you. Like, I was like 10 years old and you're like 15, but still we're like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the peak. This is what John Gilchrist got in a fight with Steve Blake. Like, we have the footage.
Yeah, right.
Like, where?
Right.
I have to get on the internet to see it. Great. Yeah, this is a fun time.
Oh man. Speaking of early 2000s guys, my number 2 pick is also I don't know, it just hurts me. I've talked about this man on many podcasts we've done. We did a TNT Classic on a game that this man was involved in. It is Salim Stoudemire of Arizona. Similar thought as Jimmer on this one. I understand he's 6'1". I understand that's not exactly tall for the NBA. You have a limitation. He's basically a shooting guard. He could kind of play point guard, but like, he's a shooting guard that's 6'1". That's not ideal. But the man didn't miss. He did one of the greatest shooting seasons in college basketball history. His senior year in 2005, he goes 50-50-91 with the shooting splits. 50% from the field, 50% from 3, 91 from the free throw line. One of the greatest shooters college basketball has ever seen. I thought surely Tate, he would find a way to stay on an NBA roster for a very long time. But as you've pointed out many times throughout this exercise, he made one fatal flaw, and it was he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, and he was doomed from the start. But no, I was recapping like what went wrong for Salim Stoudemire, why he wasn't, the NBA player I expected him to be, all that kind of stuff. And I'm on his Wikipedia page, Tate, and I came across this, and I think this explains it all. I found this little nugget. In 2006, after the NBA season ended, Stoudemire announced his intentions to eat vegan. After initially monitoring Stoudemire's weight daily, team managers accepted that his new diet had not caused weight loss. That was a little snippet from his Wikipedia page. That was 2006, after his rookie year. His stats got progressively worse the next 2 years, and then he was out of the league. So I don't know. He was the original Mike Daum, the original Michael Porter Jr., guy who went vegan and just saw his career tank. Let that be a lesson.
It's basically like, if you can't eat hamburgers or cheeseburgers or whatever you need to like give you that extra like country strong. That's what we've seen as the difference for some of these guys. That Salim Stoudemire was the first. I got a full jersey, and like when I was 11 years old for my birthday, and it was like way too big, obviously. And my brother still has the Wildcat shorts that he wears all the time, and the 20 jersey is at his house as if it's his, because he still loves Salim Stoudemire that much. Which is why, again, that era of college basketball was so much better than anything we've seen. Even though everyone will tell you it's not.
In an alternate world, Salim Stoudemire and Jared Sullinger get together and they just learn from they just take notes from each other on their eating habits, and they find the happy medium. And then they're both like 15-year NBA vets because write that
down. So you're saying I could eat more chicken wings? He's like, yeah, that's cool. It was like,
Yeah,
what about a
yeah.
hamburger? He's like, yeah, have a hamburger too. And he's like, oh, this is great. I feel better. I feel healthy. And Sullinger's like, eating vegan stuff, having a great time. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is what we want. Cauliflower, mashed potatoes, or whatever he's eating. That's that's a great reality. All right, number one on my list. So because we have to get to Obi Toppin. This is a fun exercise, but we do have Obi Toppin coming up. Number one for me, and this is a very homer pick, bias pick, whatever you want to call it. It's not Lynn bias, but for me in 2001, I thought this was the best player in the entire world.
I know
In
where
fact,
you're
from
going with this.
1999. From
I know where you're
1999 to
going with this.
2001, he was the reason that I fell in love with the game of basketball to the
Mhm.
level that anytime I would hit a shot, I wouldn't say Kobe, I wouldn't say Jordan, I'd say Forte. And
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Nectar Jai. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, or like Adam Boone or Brian Morrison or any of those other terrible. Chris Lang. Yeah, Chris Lang. No, Joseph Forte was that guy. He went by Joe Forte. He's one of the ones that he messed up by going by Joe Forte. He got drafted 21st at the Celtics.
Mhm.
I still think there was a little bit of collusion to ruin Joe Forte by the Boston Celtics. I don't know what the plan was, but he was the best genuine scorer I have ever seen in my entire life to this day. I don't know if it was because of my age or whatever, but if Joseph Forte had the ball in his hand until Jason Cable tried to ruin his career by like getting in his head and stuff, the confidence that kid had when he was wearing number 40, unbelievable.
So
Joseph Forte.
Is he finally remembered by Carolina fans?
No, Carolina fans don't. I mean,
yeah.
it was separate. It was separate for me because like they went to the Final Four as a 7 seed in 2000. Like a lot of people didn't like that team. They're like, this isn't a Carolina
Yeah.
team. Like yada yada yada. Bill Guthridge has no control of this team, or Matt Doherty at that point had no control of this team. Whatever. I loved Joseph Forte, and I'm telling you, Jason Capel was you could look up articles back then. It was basically like Jason Capel was jealous of Joseph Forte, and he wanted to be the star. And he like basically got in his head, and it was like a plant from Duke, and like especially knowing how the other Capel is now, with what he was able to do at Duke over all those years, and we saw him do it in the '90s beforehand. It was all Joseph Forte. Someone did something to ruin his career, so I would say that's why he's my number one. He was too
He's
good.
He's Bracy Wright is the Joseph Forte of IU. That's I've always thought of those two guys as like the same. We're like they were both great. But at the same time, like you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of fans that like fondly remember their time at the school they were at.
Yeah.
And,
I was young enough.
Yeah. There you go. All right, my number one, kind of a no-brainer. It had to be him. It will always be him. He will always be number one. He should just be number one. I should find a way to put him number one on every single list that I do, no matter what the topic is. It is Adam Morrison of Gonzaga, who I need to remind everybody. First of all, my favorite college player of all time, maybe my favorite basketball player of all time. It's like him and Bird and Shaq, I think, are like my three favorite players ever.
It's a good list.
Adam Morrison dropped 30 on the Pacers as a rookie. Now, I understand the Adam Morrison slander that's happened the last 15 years or so. I understand he cried against UCLA, and that's like his lasting legacy as a basketball player. If it's not that, it's riding the bench for the Lakers to 2 titles. I get all of that, but I want to remind you, Tate, this man was not a bum in the league. He didn't play great defense, obviously. He wasn't shooting quite as well as he probably should have as a rookie, but it wasn't like he was horrible. The man dropped 30 points in a game as a rookie. There was a path, there was a trajectory where if he stays on that path, he is as good as everyone thought he was going to be, or at least close to it. He does have a great NBA career. And then heading into his second year, he blows out his ACL. And for a guy who was already a little slow-footed and had problems athletically to begin with, to then have his ACL blown out, and then he's diabetic on top of all of that. It just all caught up with him, and that was it, and he was out of the league. But no, he's my favorite. He's my favorite college basketball player of all time, and I was certain that guy was going to be a star.
And I would agree with that in the sense that I thought Adam Morrison was a different kind of caliber, like white basketball player, right? Like a Pistol Pete or a Larry Bird, like, just some one of those people that you're just like, I don't know what, like Larry's clear, you know what I mean? Like Adam Morrison was clear, it was just like that guy.
Clear.
Like he's something else, you know what I mean? Like that guy can get a bucket whenever he needs it. And like you said, I mean, he lost to a UCLA team that ended up going to however many Final Fours, like from that stretch to 06 to 09. Like he lost to a legitimate team, And when he
Yeah,
cried on the court, it's one of the most visceral memories I have of March Madness. You know, even though it was like everyone
he
was,
wasn't.
quote unquote, making fun of him, it was a
People
crazy moment.
misremember that. He wasn't crying because they lost. He was crying because his teammates suck so bad at the end of that game. He was crying because he's like, I carried you assholes all season and got it right here. And all you had to do is not just shoot yourself in the dick, and you couldn't help but do it. And now you're gonna ruin my entire college career. That's why he cried, not because like, oh man, we're gonna lose to UCLA. He's like, he cried because he's like, I can never talk to these people again. He's like, these were my friends, these were my family members. I have to shun them for the rest of my life because they have let me down in a profound way. To hell with all these people. And it just the emotion overtook him. That's why he cried.
And we should also point out that like Adam Morrison is a doomsday prepper, so he was right. You know what I mean? Like he's been preparing for this moment, so he was ahead of his time. And if you go back to 2010, or I think it was 2009, the first title that Kobe and that new iteration of the Lakers won, he was like the star of Jimmy Kimmel because like he doesn't say anything, and the whole team, like he brought the Lakers together because they were like, yeah, we don't know what the hell Adam does. Like, you know, the whole team was like, and he just kind of sat there and was like, I'm prepping for doomsday.
And he was ahead of the curve.
He was a star.
He was ahead of the curve with weed too. Like he was, you know, and I mean, a lot of guys were. He's not the first guy in the NBA to smoke weed, but you know, he was like, just kind of. Yeah, I don't know.
He was
Adam
chill.
Morrison. God bless him.
All right,
those enough
are
about
two
that.
good number ones. Those are two good number ones.
Yeah,
Joseph
great.
Forte and Adam Morrison. Come on, put those out.
Speaking of number ones, let's get to it. Our I cannot believe this happened, Tate. We talked to him. We really did it. We interviewed the 2020 National Player of the Year by every reputable outlet is saying that he's the player of the year. And if you're not saying it, then you don't matter
reputable.
to me. You're not reputable. You're out. I'm kicking you out. I'm kicking you off the list. It is Obi Toppin. He joined us on the program. It was a lot of fun. We asked him about everything from Anthony Grant to dunking between his legs to Luka Garza. Even talked about him a little bit. So here it is, our interview with Obi Toppin. All right, joining us now is the 2020 AP National Player of the Year, the 2020 Titus Tate Player of the Year, which I think he had locked up when we saw him play in Maui, Tate. I think you and I both looked at each other somewhere in the first half of that Kansas game. We looked at each other like, holy hell, this guy is unbelievable. And we've been riding the bandwagon ever since. It's Obi Toppin of the Dayton Flyers. Obi, first of all, where are you right now? How are you dealing with the quarantine? What is life like for you these past couple weeks?
Right now I'm at my mom's house in New York. I'm just chilling here, playing Fortnite every day, sleeping, getting all the sleep I can get before I get back to work. But I'm just with my mom and my girlfriend, just laying down every day, playing the game.
You mentioned you're in New York. You're from New York, right? Do I have that right? And Florida,
Yes,
kind of. Yeah, like
yes,
move
sir.
back
I'm
and forth a
from
little bit.
Brooklyn, New York, and move back and forth.
Yeah. So, how does a kid from New York end up in Dayton, Ohio? How does that happen? I know you've told the story before, but a lot of our listeners are kind of like new to the Obi Toppin story. So, explain how you ended up at Dayton.
So I went to prep school. I didn't have any offers my senior year of high school, so I decided to go to prep school. And from prep school, Dayton was one of the last schools to offer me, but I waited until the end to take all my visits. And when I went on my visit to Dayton, everybody was just so welcoming, and it's like everybody wanted me to be there, from the coaches to the players and even the fans. Like when I was on the plane on my way to Dayton, like fans knew who I was already and was saying, "We really want you here. You're an amazing person, and we've been reading up on you." And I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy." It meant a lot to me, and it showed me how bonded the community was, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be in like a family atmosphere, and that's what it was.
And we talk about we call them frequent flyers here. That's what we call the Dayton fans, like the ones that are on board and they're going crazy. And we were at the Maui Invitational, like Titus was saying earlier, and we saw the Dayton fans. I mean, obviously you got the Kansas fans were there; they're trying to go crazy. Michigan State, like the usual suspects, but the Dayton fans, they were louder. They were wilder. We saw Anthony Grant's kids in the crowd going crazy. I mean, it was like a whole experience where we were like,
crazy.
these Dayton fans are insane. It's like, so how did you know it was a different level when you got there?
From the start, from the first game I watched, even though I was sitting out, it was like, I forget, it was an exhibition game, and we had a sold out arena. I think we hold like 13,500 or something like that. And it was a sold out arena. And I'm just looking there like, oh my gosh, like I can imagine a big time school coming in here, how much louder it would be. And like we played like Mississippi State and Auburn that year, and it was just ridiculous. Even in our conference play, it was ridiculous. So we definitely have the #1 fan base in the country. Definitely.
Yeah. To that point, I actually flew back to Dayton for your final game, what ended up being the last game of the season, the George Washington thing. And the whole reason I did is because,
Yes,
as I was telling you before we came on the air, Tate and I were on the bandwagon all year, and I just kind of saw the relationship that you guys seem to have with the fans. And I just like, as a guy who loves college basketball, I was like, I just want to soak that in. So I came to the final game against George Washington. You put on a show in the second half of that game with your little dunk sequence. First of all, I want to make this note. You had the 3 in a row that were pretty crazy, but the last 5 field goals you made in that game, which now is going to be the last 5 field goals of your college career, now that you're headed to the NBA, were all dunks. The last 5 baskets you made were all dunks. So my question to you is, as you're going through this sequence, the game's getting out of hand, you guys are clinching your undefeated A10 season, all of that, and you start just upping the stakes of each dunk. And the first one, you just back the guy down, you dunk on it. The second one, you do like the 360. The third one, you're between the legs. What is inspiring you to do these? Is this like, are you trying to put on a show for the fans? Are you consciously like, I'm going to put on a show for the fans? Is it like, I want to demoralize the other team? Is it both? Like, what's going through your hand? Why not just lay it up and slap the board?
Honestly, I don't think about what I'm about to do. It kind of just happens. I feel like it's because in practice it just comes like natural to me, that when I'm in a game, it's just like practice. I'm just playing around, and if I can do a trick dunk like between my legs or a 360, I'm gonna do it. I had a lot of windmills this year, but it's just because like that was just like the norm for me now, and it's just something that comes to me. I don't really think about it before I do it, but hopefully I get new tricks in my bag.
Yeah, one of the things that I did think that you thought about before you did it was against Kansas. Again, this was at the Maui Invitational. You guys ended up losing that game in overtime, but you did like it was a step back 3, but you put it behind your back. You hit a step back 3, and then you looked at the Kansas bench. And Titus and I, we both looked at each other and we were like, well, if there was any concern about Dayton, not living up to the moment, like there's your answer right there. Like, is that something that you guys go into that game where like we want to send a message that we can play with the big boys?
Most definitely. Going into Maui, we knew our first competition was against Georgia. We knew the team we were going into that tournament, and we knew coming out of that tournament we was gonna find out who we were and who we can become. I feel like the first 2 games, all of the games, like we found out who we really how we could play the rest of the season, and how we can play against anybody in the country. The first 2 games we blew them out by like 30, and the Kansas game we had them neck and neck in like all the way until overtime and lost by like 4 or 6. But like we came out of Maui knowing that we can play with anybody in the country, and we couldn't wait till March, and it was an amazing time in Maui. But that turnaround, when I looked at Kansas bench, I was just running back on defense. I didn't do it on purpose.
Did you say anything to him? Were you talking smack, or
no?
Were you just,
I didn't.
like, staring
I didn't
at,
say
didn't
anything at all. I just looked, because Udoka was screaming. He was like, "He can't shoot. He can't shoot." And then as soon as I shot it, it's like as soon as it left my hands, I was like, "Oh, that's definitely going in." And I just turned around and was like, I was praying it went in, though. I was praying it went in, because it would have looked bad if it didn't.
Oh yeah, that's funny. So how do you explain? So you get to Dayton. You said you explained like how you got to Dayton. But the other thing that's kind of notable about your story, beyond like being, you said you had no offers and you're late in the process, ended up at Dayton. What is surprising to a lot of people might be that you redshirted your first year. You actually played last year, and you had pretty good numbers last year. But obviously, like to most of the country, this season was the first time they'd ever heard of Obi Toppin. And I guess my question then is like, how would you describe how you got to this point where you just kind of made this jump from like a pretty good A10 player is what I would probably describe you as last year. You're pretty good in the A10, but like obviously you weren't the national player of the year. And now you're, you know, you've exploded into what you are. What is the reasoning behind that, do you think?
I feel like definitely I took advantage of the time that I had going to work out with the NBA teams when I first entered my name into the 2019 draft. I got to work out with I think 5 teams, and going into the workouts, I knew there wasn't a chance that I was staying into the draft, but I definitely wanted to go into the draft and get a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism from the coaches, just so that I know going back to school what I need to work on to be better and be ready for the next upcoming year. And I got a lot of feedback from those coaches. And as soon as I got back to campus in the summer, I started working out in the gym every single day with a coach. I was working on handling. I was working on like lifting in the gym extra days, and definitely getting a more consistent shot from the 3-point line and mid range. So all that feedback helped me a lot, and it definitely showed this year. But all the credit goes to my teammates also, just because without them, like, I wouldn't be the player or person that I am. So I definitely gotta give them credit too.
Yeah, we should point that out. Like in the AP story that it was announced that you were unanimous, you know, on the first team, everyone had their quotes in there. You know, it's like Marcus Howard gives his quotes on like what an honor it is to, you know, have taken this many shots and gotten this many points. And, you know, everyone's like, you know, everyone is very individualized. And yours was basically, you know, like a very old school version, which is what you just said, which is if I didn't have Jalen Crutcher and I didn't have, you know, these other guys I could rely on to, Mike Sell, all these guys like to help you out, I wouldn't have had the season I did. And it stuck out to me just reading the article, not even knowing I was going to talk to you this week. So just like, what does it mean to have those guys in that family and that bond?
Yeah, most definitely. So definitely having every single player on my team, whether it's Jalen, Trey, Ryan, Rodney, Dwayne, every single, down to the walk-ons. Everybody had a voice on the team and pushed each other every single day, in practice and even in the games. So I always give credit to my teammates, just because without the spacing that they use to help me get open lobs, or without our great guards coming off of ball screens, attacking the bigs, allowing me to roll and be open, like, or allowing the bigs to make reads, it's like they don't get enough credit, or the credit that they deserve, just because like I'm getting all the attention, and like the team is getting attention, not each individual player. So I definitely love to give credit to our point guards, our other bigs, our 3-pointers, just, or 3-point shooters, just because like without them, I wouldn't be allowed to get the open lobs or the open threes that I get. So I give all the credit to them.
Well, not only do you guys get along and mesh so well on the court, but Tate and I, as we've mentioned a few times, we were in Maui when you guys were there, and we actually stayed at the same hotel as you, as the Dayton team. And it stood out to me, even before you guys even played a single game in Maui, how, and I've said this many times on our show, just how tight you guys seem to be. And you're throwing the football on the beach, and you're hanging out all together at the pool. And
jumping off the rock.
You're jumping off the rocks together. You guys all seem like you were like super. Is that a fair assessment to say that you guys, like, the way I explained it to Tate and the way I kind of said it on the show, because we did a show from Maui, and I was like, man, I like this Dayton team. As I said, if you took basketball away, this feels like all these guys would still just hang out together and be like great friends. Is that a fair assessment, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Every time we had a lot of free time off the court and like out of practice, everywhere we go as a team. Like, there's never one person that's out of our group, just because like if God forbid anything happened, we're all together and we all have each other's back to look out for each other. So we made sure nobody was doing something bad to the point where they'll jeopardize the team. And because like if say one person gets in trouble, it looks bad on the team, not just that one person. So we made sure everybody did the right thing and did everything they had to do to help the team be successful. And so that's how we looked at it. And our bond as a team was just amazing. We ate together. We did open gym together. We played games together. It's amazing how our team was just a brotherhood.
with that in mind, who is the best guy? And you can say yourself, it's okay. Who is the best at like not basketball, but all the other stuff? Because I imagine I saw you guys throwing the football a lot on the beach. Like, who is the best?
Yeah.
Is there someone that like is really good at ping pong and video games and
Oh,
pool?
I'm
And
definitely the best at ping pong.
you're the guy. You're the guy. At just everything,
I'm
no matter what it
definitely
is.
the best at ping pong and pool. We have a ping pong table and a pool table in our arena, and I'm
Okay.
undefeated still. And you can ask any of them. I'm still undefeated. But
Okay, we'll ask.
like everybody definitely Trey. Like you can look at Trey and be like, he's the best football player just because his body.
Just the way,
But
yeah.
we have a lot of players who can do different things. Like Dwayne, he's the game head. He can play any game and be good at it just because
Okay.
it's Dwayne. Jalen's really good at Fortnite. I'm not gonna lie. He's a really good Fortnite player. But I'm better though. I'm better at Fortnite.
That's a good answer.
We love the competition here. I have to bring this up, Obi. As we were coming into this podcast, I just always do like a quick Google search, like what's going on in the world of Obadiah Toppin, and do my Google search. First thing that pops up, your parents went on Raising Fame podcast, or I don't even know if you were on the podcast, but it basically was, the headline was Obi Toppin says he wants to play with Steph Curry and the Warriors. And this is we love headlines here on this podcast. We love playing the headline game of like putting out what you want to happen. Like it's what LeVar Ball did. He's like, speak it into existence. So I like that you're already putting it out to the world that like, hey, I could play well with Steph Curry. That makes sense.
Yeah, having an opportunity to play with Steph Curry would be amazing. But like obviously like having the opportunity to play with any team, like any point guard, any big in the NBA, like would be amazing. Those I'm gonna make this straight. Like those words didn't come out my mouth, but I would love to play with Steph Curry. Like who wouldn't love to play with Steph Curry? Like playing with any guard like Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, like all the amazing point guards in the NBA. Like I'd love to play with any of them. But just being in a talk of playing with these amazing point guards and amazing bigs in the NBA is just amazing. And I love that I have that opportunity to do so.
We need you need to start some beef, man. I would love just for one guy to be like, just one time I want someone to be like, I would love to play for any of these teams except for the Cleveland Cavs. I want no part of the Cavs. But as long as I don't get drafted by the Cavs, I'm happy.
I went to Dayton. You know what
That's true. Yeah, you're an Ohio guy.
I wouldn't want to play with the Cavs.
I just want one guy. Dayton, so yeah, that's true. I know you can't do that. You're an Ohio guy, but yeah, just one time, just someone's like, it would be a blessing to play for any NBA team other than the Orlando Magic because that would be a nightmare. That'd be so funny. I'm impressive. So we got to talk about the main focal point. It's become like the big talking point of college basketball now that the tournament has been canceled. It is the race for National Player of the Year awards between you and Luka Garza. Tate and I have planted our flag firmly in the Obi Toppin camp. We cannot be any more pro Obi Toppin.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have been that way for months. How much do you care about? I mean, obviously winning awards is great, but like how much are you invested in this? Because this has become a thing. There's nothing else for people to really talk about. So a lot of people are just arguing Toppin versus Garza. And are you aware of these arguments? Are you getting invested in it? Do you have Iowa fans sending you hate mail and tweeting at you and all that kind of stuff? Fall in all this discussion.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I'm obviously on Twitter and Instagram all the time, so I definitely see the Iowa fans going crazy against me. Like, I definitely see it, but I pay no mind just because I understand like they're doing what's best for their team and their organization. Just like I feel like some of our fans would do the same to back me up. So I don't blame them. They're just doing what's best for Luka. But he's definitely a great player. I definitely watch some of their games, and he's a really good player. But I feel like I deserve that award. I'm not gonna lie, but it's definitely we definitely both deserve it. We definitely both deserve it. But at the end of the day, we just gotta wait and see.
I was gonna say, Obi, the big thing that all the Iowa fans say in their defense is that he would not be able to do this in the Big Ten. So here you go. Here's your opportunity. How many points and rebounds would you average in the Big Ten?
20 and 10.
That's all you got to do is debunk it. Just say
average 20 and
10. There you go.
But like we played like Kansas, and Kansas is the #1 team in the country, and it's like if our team, and not only myself, but our team can do what we did against Kansas. We can definitely do against anybody in the country. Like we proved
Right.
ourselves against these top-notch teams, and even those players would tell you about us. Like the players that played against us, they'll definitely tell the other people that like Dayton was a serious team. They're a really good team. They know what they're doing. So it wasn't only us. It was definitely a lot of other people that seen it, but we just had to prove to the world, and I guess we still have to prove to the world, but we couldn't in March because of the COVID-19 situation. But we ended the season the way we wanted to end.
You were pretty much everyone's favorite player to watch this year. Whether people think you should win Player of the Year or not, I think you ran away. You were the unanimous pick for the most exciting, most fun. Everyone's like, if I could watch one player play, I want it to be Obi Toppin. So since you can't watch yourself play because you're actually on the court playing, who was your pick? Removing yourself from the situation, who did you have the most fun? Not who was the best player. Who was like the one guy in college basketball this year that you were like, I love watching him play this year?
Jalen Crutcher, peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, God.
Jalen Crutcher.
That's a great answer.
Crutcher,
yeah, that's a great answer.
By far the second best player in college basketball. Like
there you go.
He like playing with Jalen is like, you will understand why I'm saying it, just because he's so smart when he's with the ball. His IQ is just out the roof. Everything he does is to make the next person next to him look good. If he's not having a good game, he always allows somebody else on the team to look good, whether it's me, whether it's Trey, or anybody on our team. So watching what Jalen does live and in person, even though I'm on the court, it's amazing, and he definitely deserves to be in the talk too. So
there you go. All right, definitely him. That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
I love that. So Jalen, that's a clean sweep.
Peanut butter and jelly for life.
Oh man.
We love it. I got to ask one thing about Coach Grant, because we did see Coach Grant, he does his press conferences. He always daps you guys up on the way out. You could tell that there's a tight bond there. We mentioned, he has his kids at the games in Maui, and there's a tight bond between the, the family, the Grant family, and the players themselves. But what is one thing that Coach Grant kind of, imparted upon you as you were there with him at Dayton?
Just the love that he showed me, my family, and everybody on the team and their families. Like the love that he showed for all of us was just amazing. He had experience coming from the NBA the year before that. My freshman year that he was with OKC, and he had a lot of experience there. So he came to us and showed us a lot of love, and just said, he basically sat us down and said, look, like, I'm not going to be an easy coach. Like, I love you guys, but I'll be doing you guys a disservice if I lied to you guys and just said everything was okay. Every single game, even if we won by 30, the next day in practice, he's pushing us, screaming at us, telling us we need to get better at not turning the ball over, just because he knew that we can be an amazing team and compete for a national championship. So just the love and the grit that he had to push us every single day, I love that about Coach Grant. So definitely that.
Yeah, we mentioned many times the tournament was canceled. Today we're taping this on Thursday. This should have been the start of the Sweet 16 that you guys would have definitely been playing in. Just so we have record, because Tate has been keeping track of every team that is claiming a national championship that says that they would have won it. We have Dayton on that list.
Okay, good.
But who, just for posterity, so we have for the history books, who would Dayton have beaten in the national championship, do you think? Who would you guys who do you? It
would have had to been a rematch, Kansas and Dayton. It would have had to been a rematch. It would have been ridiculous if we played them again in the national championship game. Definitely.
Yeah. All right, we'll lock that in. That's
a lock. That's a lock.
Definitely.
All right, my final question, Obi, is dunk contest. Where are you falling on this? A lot of guys don't want to do it. A lot of guys that are yeah. Are you doing the dunk contest in the NBA? You're doing it. You're doing it. You don't know. Is that something? No, in all seriousness,
if I had the opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Is that something that you would want to do? Do you want to do a dunk contest someday in the NBA?
I mean, if I had the chance to do a dunk contest, I'll definitely feel grateful doing it. But There's a lot of great dunkers in the league, but I think I could pull a couple tricks out my bag and hope
Okay.
maybe win it. But you got Zach LaVine going between his legs from the free throw line. Like I can't do that.
Who
I don't think I
who
can
do
do
you who do you think should have won this year? Were you Aaron Gordon or Derrick Jones guy?
that. Derrick Jones is from near New York, so
Okay.
I seen him play in the park tournament. So it was definitely it was definitely neck and neck. They're both great dunkers, but I was going for Derrick Jones for sure,
Okay. All
for
right.
sure, for
Okay,
sure.
there you go.
But
We have it on the record.
The Zach Levine and Aaron Gordon one, that was ridiculous. That was
Yeah,
so crazy.
that's 2016. That's one of the best ones. My final thing before we get out
Yes.
of here, Obi, is there a chance like we've seen Mike go to Michael Jordan? We've seen a worse version of that, like Mitch going to Mitchell Trubisky in Chicago to keep it in Chicago. Is
hmm
there a chance that we see a Obi to Obadiah as we get to the NBA?
Obadiah is just. I'm so used to my mom getting mad at me calling me Obadiah, so I
Okay,
don't think I'm gonna get used to anybody calling me Obadiah. So I think I'm just gonna
okay,
stick with Obi.
we'll stick with Obi.
Maybe
That
there's
sounds
something there
good.
with
Yeah,
maybe there's something there with the initials being OT, and we have that.
like
Is that a
OT
thing? Have
one
you thought about?
or Obi
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
ooh,
Obi
Yeah,
Wan.
like Obi one. Yeah, Obi Wan Kenobi.
I like that. I
ooh.
like that. I like that. There it is. All right. Well, Obi, thank you so much for joining us, man. We are huge fans
Yes,
of yours.
sir.
We love the season you guys had, and it was so fun watching you and watching that team all year, and we appreciate you joining us.
Yep.
Yes,
Appreciate
most
you,
definitely.
Obi.
Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you.
All right, thank you again to Obi Toppin for joining us. A little note, Tate, that I want to point out to the viewers. If you're watching this on the Fox Sports YouTube page, you may have noticed. If you're listening, you probably didn't because you can't see me. The very first thing before we went on the air that Obi said, he called out that I'm wearing my San Diego State hat that I got when we
Yep.
went down to San Diego. The very first thing he did is he's like, we asked, "Can you see us?" And he goes, "Yeah, I see the guy in the San Diego State hat." And he made me very uncomfortable about that. So I turned around backwards for him out of respect to him. And then he's like, "I got to send you a Dayton hat." And I was like, "Absolutely, sir. I would love that." So
Yeah,
I
we
like that he's
basically
yeah.
no, we're basically begging him for free merch, but also it's hilarious that immediately instead of being like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" He's like, what's that hat there?" It's like,
Yeah,
why are you
yeah,
wearing that?"
no, I love it. He called me out, and I deserve to be called out because I was pandering to Kyle Guy wearing my Virginia hat when he was on. I should have done the same and wore some Dayton swag, and I was just lazy. Anyway, thanks to
Mhm.
Obi, man. He's awesome. I will be rooting for him. I will be buying his jersey whenever it's available. Whatever.
Obi-Wan.
I can't.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that already is his nickname, but Obi-Wan is that's the one. Like send that to
yeah,
Nike, send that to whomever he signs with, probably Puma, just based on what we've
yeah,
seen from Puma
yeah,
over the past few years. But that's a good campaign,
yeah.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Obi. All right, let's get out of here. Before we do though, we got to talk about this coaches list, this Jeff Goodman thing that he put together. You can go to Jeff. Where would you find this? How do you tell the people to find this? Where's Jeff Goodman on Stadium? Whatever the hell Stadium
Yeah,
is.
so
Go to
this is
Goodman's
on
Twitter
Watch
account.
Stadium. Yeah, go to Goodman's Twitter account, and then he'll have like pinned at the top, like, wonder what your college basketball coaches are doing during the quarantine. Here's what they're watching. Link. And you click
Yeah.
on that link, and it's watchstadium.com. And it's in a list of all the conferences with all the coaches with their favorite movie, favorite TV show.
Yeah, and like we said at the top, the thing that stands out to me is like how simple of a premise it is, but then how performative it feels like some of these answers became. Where
Mhm.
the whole thing is hilarious because these coaches, they know one thing and that's basketball. They know nothing else. They if it doesn't fall into the realm of college basketball, whether it's recruiting, X's and O's, whatever, they don't know shit about it. And now they're being put on the spot, but they also know that like everyone's going to see their answers and judge them for it. And the whole thing is so fascinating, and I can't applaud Goodman enough for coming up with it. What are some things that stood out to you, Tate, though?
Okay, so I'll start with the one that like the only one I really care about, right? Because like you said, this is performative. This is if you didn't say Shawshank Redemption for your favorite movie on this list, then you're basically a pariah in college basketball.
Yeah.
Like you're basically going to get kicked out of the college basketball world. So in that same vein, Bob McKillop, one of my favorite coaches in all of basketball at any level, the Davidson basketball coach, the man that made Steph Curry decide to start shooting 3-pointers. He said for TV show, too many to list. And he said for movie, too many to list. And
wow.
as someone who watches a lot of movies and TV, you and I both, one of my least favorite questions is, what is your favorite color? Because like on any given day, like I've said yellow. Yellow used to be my answer. I used to say Carolina blue, and you know what I mean. There's like, I hate the question because I'm like, I'm never gonna give the right answer because there is no right answer in my mind. So Bob McKillop kept it real and was like, there's just too many. Like I watched too many. I can't give you a right answer. And then like you said, everyone else is like The Wire, Goodfellas,
Yeah.
like any movie
Yeah.
where someone's getting murdered or like, you know, El Chapo's involved, Narcos, like these are what they're saying on the list to like basically like subtly imply like I'm a gangster.
It would have been awesome if McKillop listed, he said too many to mention and then put in parentheses, except Shape of Water. He's like, they're all every movie ever made is my favorite except Shape of Water. It's like, it's a tie for first and then Shape of Water at the very bottom. I hate that movie.
I've enjoyed all the movies I've watched other than Shape of Water 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. Green Book. Get Green Book out of my face. Best Picture, my ass. How dare you? So the things that stood out to me, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of basic bitch answers. Curb and Seinfeld seems to be like the TV show that everyone loves. And then Shawshank was like the movie, or Goodfellas or Godfather or something like that.
Or Heat.
We have
anything.
Yeah. Mike Krzyzewski's favorite TV show was Blue Bloods. I thought that was interesting. He loves Blue Bloods. Big Blue Blood guy. Patrick Ewing and Johnny Dawkins gave no answers. They said none. They didn't. It's not that they didn't give an answer, because Mark Gottfried on Goodman's list, it says Mark Gottfried did not respond, which is fantastic in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Patrick Ewing and Johnny Dawkins did respond, and they said, "Nah, I'm out."
No,
none.
And Kevin Keats. Kevin Keats did it too. Kevin Keats said, "TV show is The Voice and movie none."
But the Kevin Keats one is especially funny to me because he actually like took some time to think about the TV show, and he picked the voice.
No,
the movie,
and Leonard Hamilton, he also said The Voice, and I saw both those guys, and I'm like, is this sponsored by The Voice? Like, are these guys like, being fed the line? Like, just say like NBC's like, if you want to be on NBC one day, you better say The Voice.
Another one stood out to me. Jeff Capel, who we love on this program, he picked TV show Curb Your Enthusiasm and movie The Godfather, which like is just that is a big time recruiter move right there, because he's basically he's putting out into the world the two personalities that you need to be a successful college basketball coach. You got to be a gangster, you got to be Don Corleone, but at the same time you got to be like very lovable Larry David type, you know. And he's like he nailed it. This is why Capel is the man, because he knows exactly what to say. This is a performative exercise, as we said, and he knocked it out of the park. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
He knocked it out of the park, and we did a Shawshank spoof at the Maui Invitational where you and I reunited, and like I had no idea that this was such a let's just look at the ACC coaches. Jim Boeheim, Shawshank Redemption, his favorite movie. Tony Bennett, Shawshank Redemption, his favorite movie. Mike Young, Shawshank Redemption, his favorite movie. Like if you go down the list and you start seeing the guys
hang on
that
a second.
say Shawshank.
I'm looking this up right now. I'm just Googling
Mike Bray, Shawshank Redemption.
I'm Googling the best movies ever made, and then the very first result, it looks like a Hollywood Reporter list.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption.
If Shawshank's at the top,
Googled it.
Then, that's what I'm saying. If Shawshank's at the top, then all this tells me is that all these guys just Googled best movie and just said
of all time. They're like, how do I not deal with this? Best movie of all time. Shawshank Redemption. Boom. That's it.
Let me see here. They have Shawshank at 4. The top result says Shawshank at 4. All right, fine. I'll give it to him.
Okay.
Other ones that stood out. We have Tony Bennett. We just had Kyle Guy on the program. He was talking about how Tony Bennett loves movies. He also said Shawshank Redemption, but he said his favorite TV show is This Is Us, which is interesting. Jay Wright said his favorite TV show is 60 Minutes and his favorite movie is Goodfellas, which feels so perfect for Jay Wright. That just hits it. And then speaking of coaches that like hit their brand perfectly, Ed Cooley knocked it out of the park with TV show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, movie Trading Places. And then the third one that stood out to me as far as like coaches hitting it out of the park, I guess all these kind of do, but Bob Huggins said his TV show is Mobsters and his movie is The Godfather. So these were all coaches that are on brand and they knew exactly what they were doing. And then I'll just rip through the other ones I had notes of. Nate Oates said The Cosby Show, so someone needs to explain to him why that's problematic, and that was not the right answer. Rod Barnes, the coach at Cal State Bakerfield, said his favorite TV show is CNN, which is like, my God, dude. Like, 1, not a TV show. Try again. 2, really? Woof. Like, that's your favorite TV shows? You just watch the news and Godfrey did not respond. And then Hofstra's coach said his favorite TV show and movie is Synergy Sports Technology for film, both of them. All he does is break down film, which is a very hard-o answer. And congratulations, Hofstra. We get it. You take it really seriously. And then the last one, and I'll shut up. The Citadel coach, Duggar Balcom. Is that how you say his name? Balcom?
Duggar.
I don't know. He said his favorite movie is Point Break. And I just wanted to give a tip of the cap to him because he was the one guy who like went there. He put his neck out and wasn't trying to be like a basic bitch, wasn't trying to just say the like Point Break, and he put in parentheses 1991 Point Break, so you know which one he's talking about. Which is exactly what I would have said. My answer would have been like Point Break or Roadhouse probably. Because that's the answer that people actually want to hear is answers like that, not freaking Godfather. You don't want to be one of 30 people that says Godfather. So anyway.
And I will point out, I love the years, like when they put the print, like Roy Williams put Magnum PI as his favorite TV show, and then he put 1980, just in case, like if you thought he was talking about the new Magnum PI that came out. You know, I enjoyed that, and I also just wanted to like point out the fact that like this many coaches, like that, like I wonder if they texted each other, like, did Goodman hit you up about this?
Yeah, what'd you say?
Yeah, what'd you say? Because it feels like a multiple choice like test. Like if you look at the answers, you're kind of like, did these guys only have like 8 choices? Like how do they pick these guys? But yeah, it's
Boeheim just said.
I
guarantee Boeheim said, "What did Mike and Roy say?" To Goodman.
Literally,
he was like, "What? Yeah, what did they say? Just put me down for that." So what are your answers? Lock your answers in, Tate. If you're a college basketball coach, what are you saying?
I would agree with Kelvin Sampson from movie The Outlaw Josie Wells, because I think you just say that, and that's like I'm old, you know, like I'm gritty, like I'm gonna deal with the BS of this, and I'm gonna walk my own path, you know what I mean? Like, or even walk the line. Like if someone said walk the line, you know, it's like I'm just like an outlaw. I'm my own person. Like you can't stop me, whatever. And then TV show wise, you just gotta say South Park, because that gets like the younger generation of kids as well. Like, you know, maybe some 18-year-old kids that have a sense of humor. So those would be my 2.
I think I would go with my movie. Like I said, I would, if you're asking me honestly, I'd say like Roadhouse or Point Break, just to like seem like I'm cool and different. But if I'm a college basketball coach, I'm playing the angle where I'm trying to like impress moms, all these recruits' moms and stuff. So
when Harry met Sally.
Yeah, something like or like The Blind Side or something, you know, where like moms are like, "Oh my God, this coach gets it." Or
Remember
like
the Titans. That was the pick for a lot of coaches that were trying to do that. Yeah, they're like Danny Manning was like, remember the Titans.
Yeah, and This Is Us is a good pick for that too. To the mom, you're going to these living rooms, and the mom's like, "Now I saw Jeff Goodman's list, and you said This Is Us. I got to tell you, that's my favorite show too, and that's why I know that your son or my son can play for you anytime." And I don't know why my fake mom was Southern, but that's what I decided to make her.
I kind of love that. Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we go, Tate? Shout outs, closeouts.
I want to shout out today, 3 years ago, Luke May in the Memphis Regional hit a shot against a Kentucky team that I thought had Carolina's number and would defy them from getting redemption for the 2017 title. Luke May defied all odds, made a big shot. Theo Pinson's the real hero of that moment by, you know, bringing the ball up on the primary break, finding Luke May, let him hit that shot. But I can't believe it's been 3 years, and I still can't believe we were not at that game.
We should have been at that game. It's the anniversary already. Wasn't it just the anniversary? Wasn't it just the anniversary last year?
Every March 26th, we will talk about Luke May.
2 more shout outs for me. Rick Pitino has landed 6 recruits already. He's been on the job
in 5 days. In 5 days.
So apparently this man, I don't know. The rest of the country's on lockdown and told not to leave your house. Rick Pitino, you're part of the problem. Stop recruiting. Stop getting out there and recruiting. And then I wanted to shout out your guy, your a North Carolina Tar Heel legend, Cole Anthony, who is refusing to partake in these NBA draft announcements, and said, as long as this pandemic is going on, I will not be making my decision. And he did so. He made it. What do you do? An Imagine video? Did he sing the lyrics to John Lennon's Imagine? Is that how he announced?
Yes.
Made this.
I think it was Ariana Grande's Imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I get one of those videos. I can't remember.
So,
it was. Yeah, we'll pass on all that. My final shout out, because I can't talk about how ridiculous that was. My final shout out before we get out of here, Sister Jean, who we on this program call Sister Meme. She offered her thoughts and prayers to the world And we just want to thank Sister Jean for doing that, because that is what we needed at a time like this. It's Sister Jean trying to reinsert herself into the national conversation. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. She's back. She's worse than ever. Here she is, folks. Sister Meme.
Oh God. All right, before we go, send us your dirty laundry stories. We're gonna read some today, but
Yes.
we didn't get enough good ones. We only got a couple that I don't know. There wasn't enough not enough meat on that bone. So send them to us, titusandtate@gmail.com. Also, I think this top 10 thing is a good idea. So if you want us to rip through like things like that, like don't, just as long as it's not like top 10 teams to never win a title, like we get that. Like it's been done before. We want to get down to the nitty gritty, like the top 10.
I want top 10
What
teams that would have won the title in 2020. And then we'll argue over that. That's what I still want to figure it out. Who won the title this year? Because Obi Toppin convinced me today it was Dayton.
We're gonna do TNT Classics though. Tate, what should we pick a game? How are we gonna go about doing this? Do we need more time to pick a game? Why have we not picked a game?
I want to pick a game, but I also want to pick a game that the world picks as well. Because I feel like, there's a bias that is inherently there for some of the games I want to watch. I honestly, you brought up the Pittsnogle Wake Forest game. Like, I would love to watch that, even though I know that's
that'd
not
be
like
a good one.
A game. Yeah, that would be a fun one to watch. I mean, there's
get John Beeline on the show. He's got nothing else to do. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just like, or get Pittsnogle. What's he doing? Like, let's get him on the show.
What's Pittsnogle up to?
Something. Yeah, so I feel like for me, like games like that are more interesting. Like some of the second round, like just supreme match, like even Davidson, not Davidson Georgetown, but Davidson Gonzaga. Like even that game, like the early round game, like some of those early upsets I would like to see. I would obviously love to see Lehigh Duke.
We could do.
I don't want to do like title games. I want to do like kind of
I don't either. No. Like I don't want to do. Yeah, I don't want to do anything that would like help us actually draw an audience. I don't want. I want to do super specific. Yeah, like
I'd love for the game. I wanted to go for the West Virginia John Beeline fans. They're just. Like,
I want to do the first round game with Bob Cousy at Holy Cross, and we break that one down. Yeah, that's the one I want to do.
I want the people to pick, so maybe we'll pick 4. Like we'll do it like in like 4 or 5 different tweets, but we'll pick 4 games each, and then I don't know. We'll
all right, we'll figure it out. We're postponing it due to coronavirus. We'll just say that, and then no one can get mad at us because you have to understand that. That's the state of the world right now, and yeah. All right, that's the show. We'll be back Tuesday. Thanks for listening. Thank you to Obi Toppin once again. That's pretty sweet that we just got the National Player of the Year on the show. Fun times. All right. See you guys Tuesday. Peace.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.